The committee for this hearing comprises Councillor Stuart Graham, Linda Wade and myself. Councillors, could you please introduce yourselves? Stuart.
Morning, Councillor Stuart Graham for Norland Ward.
Councillor Linda Wade, Earls Court Ward.
You may turn your cameras off now if you wish, or keep them open. We're not having any connection problems at the moment. We are then joined remotely by Paul Phelan from the Council's licensing team and our legal officer, Lindsay Lemazure. Also with us is our committee officer, Anne Wright. Anne will be monitoring all of our connections and help us with any technical issues we may have. She is supported by Gareth Ebenezer. Before we start the hearing of this case, there are just a few rules. Please keep your microphones on mute until you're invited to speak, and please make sure your mobile phones are silent. Do keep your cameras on when you are not speaking if you wish, unless we have connection problems. Please note that the Microsoft Teams chat function is not monitored, so please don't use it. In addition, this is a public meeting and the chat would not be seen in the live stream. Everyone should have received the procedure for this meeting regarding the use of cameras and how to connect back if you lose a connection. The case before us today is to consider objections from the police and from Environmental Health to a notice to hold a temporary licensable event for the front area of number 258 Westbourne Park Road, London, West 11, 1EL. I confirm that I have no declaration of interest to make on this item. Do Councillor Stuart or Councillor Wade have anything to say? So, Councillor Graham, do you have any interest to declare?
No declaration.
Councillor Wade?
No declaration.
And the same for myself. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, sorry. The quorum for this committee is 2, and so as there is a possibility that I may lose connection during the broadcast, I am nominating Councillor Wade to be appointed as the substitute chair. Members, please confirm whether this nomination is seconded. Councillor Graham.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you very much. I confirm that Councillor Wade has been appointed substitute chair. Thank you, colleagues. Procedure. For clarity, I will outline the procedure of the meeting, which has already been mentioned and has been circulated with the papers that are online. First, the licensing officer, Mr. Paul Phelan, will give a brief outline of the notice. Please, could you confirm your attendance, Mr. Phelan?
Good morning, Chair. Paul Phelan, licensing present.
Thank you. Then I will ask the applicant, Ms. Savannah Omoregi, to present her submission. She will have a maximum of up to 10 minutes to do so. Could you confirm your attendance?
Chair, can I be of assistance here? Because
yes, we do not seem to have the applicant.
Yes, okay. So in instances where the applicant has failed to indicate whether they're going to turn up or not, we can either adjourn the hearing if it's in the public interest, or we can hold the hearing in the party's absence. I'm just going to ask governance what steps they've taken to contact the applicant to let them know about today's hearing, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not to adjourn or whether the hearing can proceed. Over to governance, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm just finding the relevant email. In the last 24 hours, we emailed her at 12:10 yesterday lunchtime, no reply. And then I telephoned her at 15:06 and there was no reply.
And she was aware of the, she's obviously been sent the pack and she was aware
She
of
would
the
have been
hearing
sent the
date.
pack on Monday, the same time as everyone else.
Okay,
Yes.
so she was aware that the hearing was proceeded and you tried to contact her by email and by telephone yesterday to notify her of today's online hearing. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Councillors, it's up to you whether you wish to adjourn in the public interest or whether you think that the applicant has been given plenty of notification and we can continue with the hearing in her absence.
Okay, so can I ask members of the committee? I am minded, I think, to continue, but Councillor Graham and Councillor Wade?
I'm content to continue, Chair.
I'm content to continue.
Thank you. Okay, so we will continue in the absence of the applicant. They can, of course, look at the live feed later if they wish to do so. So after that, not having the applicant, we will go on to the police, who are represented today by Mr. James Rankin, who's their counsel, and he will present the objection on behalf of the police, and he will have a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. He is joined by his clients, PC Alexandra McLachlan and PC Giles Balestrini, who may also be able to assist members should they have any questions. Could you all please now confirm your attendance? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James Rankin, and yes, I'm here.
I'm PC Alex McLachlan, and yes, I am also here.
Good morning, Chair. PC Giles Balestrini, and I am here.
Thank you. Then questions will be asked by members of the Committee of the Police, and then questions can be asked by Environmental Health of the Police. Then questions may be asked by the applicant, who isn't here actually. And then we will go on to Environmental Health. Mr. Keith Mahaffey will present his objection. He will have up to 10 minutes to do so. Please could you confirm your attendance, Mr. Mahaffey?
Good morning, Chairman. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So after he's spoken, the committee will ask questions of environmental health. Then the police can ask questions of environmental health. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Lindsay Lemesurier, to deal with any questions she may have. Lindsay, could you confirm your attendance?
Present, Chair.
Then finally, we will turn to the government's team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. We will then adjourn the meeting for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes to deliberate before coming back to the meeting with our decision. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, so there is no need to repeat their content, but please do draw our attention to certain points and pages, and Anne will be able to move the document on the screen for us. Okay, so now we can begin, and we will start with Mr. Paul Phelan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, all. Today's temporary event notice has been submitted by Miss Savannah Omarigi. Miss Omarigi has confirmed the premises as the front garden area of 258 Westbourne Park Road, London, W11 1EL. The premises user has provided a Google map of the area associated with this temporary event notice. As part of the temporary event notice, Miss Omarigi is seeking the provision of regulated entertainment on the 27th to the 29th of August 2022, the Saturday, Sunday and Monday of the August bank holiday weekend from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. each day for no more than 50 people at any one time. A copy of the temporary event notice can be found on pages 5 to 12. This notification has attracted representations from both Mr. Mahaffey, an Area Senior Environmental Health Officer, on the grounds of public safety, and PC McLaughlin of the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of crime and disorder and public safety. A full copy of PC McLaughlin's representation can be found at Appendix B, pages 13 to 15, with a copy of Mr. Mahaffey's representation attached at Appendix C, page 16. That concludes the summary of this notification, Chair. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do not have the applicant, so I think we will go now straight to Mr. Rankin. Is that correct, Lindsay?
That's correct. It's for Mr. Rankin to make the police objection.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair. Knowing that you've read the papers, I can take this fairly swiftly. Can I, just by way of background, say this, that of course it's wholly laudable that Miss Omoreghe wants to honour her late grandmother's memory. Her grandmother used to sell alcohol from the front garden. But what Miss Omoreghe, who is a DJ and singer, plans is rather different. She wants to erect a stage and she wants to have 50 people attending her event. But Westbourne Park Road is a major arterial route during the carnival. And I should also say this, that the police are not anti-fun, but their overarching consideration relates to crime and disorder and public safety and such like. And in the run-up to the carnival, the sound systems that are erected are consulted and consult with the police some 1 year in advance. There are some 37 sound systems that the police have engaged with that have all applied in one form or another for permission to being staged. And we have been able to agree risk assessments, event plans, and such like. But we have not had any engagement with Miss Omoreghe, despite the fact that we have reached out. So we have no risk assessment, we have no event plan, we have no indication of what the dimensions of her stage will be, how high it will be, how wide it will be, whether it will encroach onto Westbourne Park Road, whether she will be using barriers, whether she will be using stewards and such like. What we do know, absent all of those things, is that she can't accommodate 50 people inside her front garden. And necessarily those 50 people would have to be accommodated in Westbourne Park Road. And in view of the fact that Westbourne Park Road is a major artery, and in view of the fact that the police regard of paramount importance the passage and repassage of pedestrians along Westbourne Park Road, any event which seeks to place 50 people on Westbourne Park Road in a stationary position is a matter that they view with grave concern. Now, the Appendix B objection from Mr. McLaughlin details the concerns that the police have and the failures that Ms. Omoreghe has engaged in not engaging with the police and not addressing her mind to your policy. And Mr. McLaughlin has helpfully identified the relevant paragraphs from your policy document, being 25.4, 25.5, 25.6, and 25.11. So this is the concern, that if she's allowed to do this, and I should also say that she's asking for 10 o'clock, that there are no permissions for any sound system that go beyond 7 o'clock. So even if she was able to overcome the obvious hurdles, says the police, that are thrown in the way of her application, she still asks for very much more than anyone else has. The police want the carnival to end at 7 o'clock and people to disperse as quickly as possible. They want no event which is going to allow people to linger. So that's a satellite issue. The major issue is this, that if she's been permitted, if she is permitted to do what she seeks to do, we have very grave concerns. We regard paramount importance the ability of people to pass freely along Westbourne Park. If there is a blockage in that artery, then it impacts along the whole of Westbourne Park Road in both directions. And in addition to that, it presents an obvious target for the pickpockets who prey upon attendees of the carnival. If you've got a large group of stationary people who are unable to pass because of the impediments thrown up by Miss Omerigi's stage, then they themselves become possible victims for pickpocketing, which is an activity which is rife during the carnival. So that in a nutshell is the way that I put our case. It's an unsatisfactory application, although entirely laudable in its intentions. So I've got Mr. McLaughlin who can help us, and Mr. Ballesteria who can answer questions in addition. But so I got this very wrong. I was going to leave my representation there.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Can I just ask you one question before I turn to the committee? Can you outline the problem that not having an event management plan or a risk assessment poses in terms of safety for crowds at the carnival?
Of course I can. I'm not sure if there's a photograph that is contained within the bundle.
I think there is.
All right, it may be helpful to look at that. There, we can stop it there. So that is the front of 258. And what she proposes is the erection of a stage. And because there's no event management plan, we don't know what the dimensions of that stage are. We don't know how high, how wide, and whether it encroaches onto the pavement of Westbourne Park Road. What we do know is that the front of 258, behind that railing, is a very small ledge. It's a standard passage down to the basement flat. You cannot put 50 people there. You could conceivably put a stage there if we knew how big it was going to be. But it means that you wouldn't be able to accommodate 50 people on the other side of the railings. And so they would be accommodated on the street side of the railings. And because there's no event management plan, we don't know whether she planned to put in place barriers to surround the 50 people that were listening to her DJing and singing. We don't know whether because there's no event management plan, whether there are going to be stewards there and what arrangement she's made for that. We don't know whether the stage itself will encroach onto the pavement. All of these things would have been detailed in the event management plan, but because they have not, they're all unanswered questions for us.
Thank you. So members of the committee, Councillor Graham, and then I'll go to Councillor Wade.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just having a few connection issues. Might you go to Councillor Wade first and come back?
Councillor Wade.
When we talk about, I've actually visited the site, so I've looked at the basement area. So could we talk? You've mentioned about the event management. I'm interested about the risk management and about how you've talked about the passage, about the volume of people that you're trying to manage at that time along that stretch of road and disbursement. What problems do you think that is going to present to the police what type of, if you have 50 people on that pavement, how do you think that's going to impact on the police management of disbursement or passage, or if there was an incident?
They're all good points. What we do know from past experience is that Westbourne Park Road, even without a stage with 50 people standing on the pavement in front of it, at Westbourne Park Road, it becomes extremely choked with pedestrians passing in both directions. And if there is any form of blockage to that major artery, by way, for example, of 50 people just standing still, then it means that the passage of that artery is blocked. And what that means is that people at the east end of Westbourne Park Road and the west end of Westbourne Park Road are unable to pass in either direction. From the police's point of view,
sorry, what would you have expected her to have generated in a risk assessment? What type of risk assessment would you have liked to have seen from her?
These, like some indication of whether the people will be standing on the pavement or whether they will be standing inside her railings.
Right.
And how she will, for example, do her level best to ensure that that artery does not become blocked. In our view, it's an impossibility, that it's a hurdle which she's unable to overcome. So even if there was a risk assessment, even if there was an event management plan, the practicalities of having 50 people listening to her music and DJing present difficulties for the police, which are, in our view, insurmountable.
So even if she had security guards there, that wouldn't have solved the problem?
No, 50 people would effectively cover the whole of the pavement and out into the road itself.
Thank you.
So, Councillor, are you finished, Councillor Wade? I'll go on to Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered if you could comment on the times. Clearly, the application was for up to 10 p.m., which is outside the usual timings of up to 7 p.m. What specific problems do the police foresee happening in that 3 hours past 7 p.m? I just wondered if you could comment on that.
It's the reason that all of the other sound systems end at 7 o'clock is because that gives the police a sporting chance of clearing the area at the end of the carnival, encouraging people to go home, not having any form of entertainment which encourages festival goers, carnival goers to linger any longer than is necessary. So if they are allowed the ability to play, if she's allowed her ability to play music 3 hours beyond the terminal hour of all of the other sound stages, then what that means is that she becomes an attraction, a magnet for people in the area to move towards number 258 and to linger for 3 hours longer than necessary outside that house and prevent the police clearing the area.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Chair, I have no further questions. Councillor Wade covered most of what I wanted to ask.
Okay, fine. So I will now go to environmental health. Do you have any questions for Mr. Rankin?
Madam Chairman, I don't have any questions.
Okay, fine. So we have no applicant. So I will turn now to Mr. Mahaffey. If you could present your objection, please turn your camera on so we could look at you while you're speaking. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Mahaffey.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Basically, I share an awful lot of what Mr. Rankin has already explained to the committee. Basically, this is an unacceptable application. The application basically could create a very unsafe situation. Carnival is all about safety. It's not about noise. We deal with noise primarily through the restriction of hours at which the sound systems actually play. The whole thing here is to have public safety. This application, she says 50 people. There is no way that she would manage 50 people. There's nothing in there's no risk assessments. There's no event management plan. There's no documents telling us how she's going to manage this, how she's going to safely ensure that people will be protected. And clearly, there is also no details of how she's going to contain the crowd to 50 people. Westbourne Park Road is one of the main arteries of Carnival. People come down from All Saints Road. They can't go up Lancaster Road because it's in a safety zone. They can't go up through Colville Square or Clydesdale Road or Talbot Road because they are basically full from people attending the sound systems on that side. So it is a main artery. You can't have it blocked. And if people spilling out onto the road, you're going to have issues with crowd control. You're going to have people crowd safety and people crowd crushing. All these things could happen. In my view, it's not an acceptable location. When we deal with Carnival, we encourage only people who are professionals and members of the British Association of Sound Systems to become to attend and play music. They have a full understanding of what the issues are with regard to crowd safety. She is not a member of that community. We have suggested that to her. I did speak with her and I said to her, maybe it would be better if she spoke with the organisers, and if the organisers could fit her in at some of the other stages, but that's a conversation that she would have to have with Matthew Phillips at the Carnival Trust. Other than that, Madam, I very much object to this temporary event notice. It is an extremely dangerous location, and I would therefore request that the counter notice is served. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mahaffey. I've got a couple of questions and then I'll go to the committee. Maybe I should have asked this earlier, but it's not clear to me. There's some talk of a bar, so is she wanting to sell alcohol? That's one question. The other thing is, what about toilets for these 50 people? There doesn't seem to be any. Where are they going to be?
What I would say is, with regard to the toilets, we provide toilets and people charge people to use their toilets. But the people who will be at Carnival will be the people who will be walking around all the different sound systems, and they'll be using the toilets and facilities that are in the Carnival zone. We're never able to provide sufficient toilets for everyone at Carnival because there's just so many people. There's over 800,000 people attend on a daily basis. And to provide sufficient toilet facilities would take up a considerable amount of the Carnival area. But we would not require her to provide toilets for these additional people. And as far as the alcohol is concerned, I can't remember. I don't think she was asking for alcohol sales.
Okay. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Mahaffey, I just wondered if you could comment on the sort of the noise implications, particularly in the latter part. You heard I mentioned to Mr. Rankin earlier about the last 3 hours requested. If you could give some comment on that particular time outside, between 7 and 10, and how that might impact neighbours.
The way in which we approach Carnival is to basically restrict the hours at which the sound systems and floats play, so that we basically say you start at midday and you finish at 7 for the sound systems, and the floats they start up and we get them around the parade, the Carnival route, hopefully by 8:30, probably 9 o'clock. And in that period, if the sound systems switch off at 7, it means that people leave the sound systems, they follow the floats, and a lot of people disperse. There's 800,000 people that have to be dispersed at Carnival, and those 800,000 people have to make their way home. And if you get people staying on, then clearly they can cause issues, etc. The whole thing is not to encourage them, is to discourage them from being in the area and encourage them to go home. and to have systems playing after 7 o'clock is unacceptable. And why should one system have an ability to play later than any other systems? Because we could then have all the other systems asking us to extend their hours next year, and that would cause major problems. So we have to ensure the rule affects everyone, not just the professional systems that toe the line and act very responsibly.
Thank you. Chair, if I may, I just have one further question about I think it was unclear in the application, and I just wanted your views on this, about the stage itself and the construction of the scaffolding. To my mind, it was very unclear in there exactly what the structure would be and sizing, given that, as Mr. Rankin quite understandably said, there is a lack of space in that basement area. I just wondered if you had any further information about the structure that perhaps you could offer.
We have no information on this, no more information than anyone else. But again, you have to have, it can't be a dangerous structure. It has to be a safe structure, and it would have to be inspected by the district surveyor to make sure that it is safe. And clearly, without that information, there is no way we could permit wish this 10 to go forward.
And so you would have, sort of, without wanting to put words in your mouth, you would have expected that information to be submitted as part of the application in terms of
yes.
Thank you, Chair. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Councillor Wade.
I think that Stuart's covered what I was going to ask.
Okay, thank you. So I will go now to the police. Do you have any questions of environmental health?
No questions.
Okay. Lindsay, the legal officer, would you like to say anything here at this point?
Just got one question. Do we know what kind of regulated entertainment? Was it going to be playing of recorded music, or was it also going to be live music as well? I was just interested whether Keith knew what she was intending to do.
When I spoke with her, she advised me that she was going to DJ, and I think she was going to have some live music as well. But it wasn't acceptable to us.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Does our licensing officer have anything to add, Mr. Phelan?
Thank you, Chair. Only that alcohol is not sought as part of this temporary event notice.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And governance, do governance have anything to say?
Nothing from us, Councillor Rossi.
Okay. So therefore, in the absence of the applicants, we have reached the end of the meeting, and the committee has all the information that we need, and we will retire to make our decision in a private. We will come back in 10 minutes to deliberate, and we will return to this meeting here to announce our decision today. A summary of the decision will also be sent to the parties, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible. Thank you for attending, and we'll come back in 10 minutes to give you our decision. Thank you. And we move into the other meeting. We're waiting for Linda. And does Linda have a problem getting back in?
She hasn't said anything, and she is in this meeting, so I just I can WhatsApp her, but
it says on hold.
Yes, yes. So she obviously had both meetings open, and she would need to come back into this one. But
Okay.
I can't ring her because she actually is in the meeting. So I'll have to WhatsApp her separately.
Shall I ring her? Let's see if I've got her number. I'm gonna ring her. Hi, Linda. Are you not back in the main meeting? Oh, you are now? Okay.
Is everybody else present?
I was trying to get in.
Welcome, Linda. And can you confirm that everyone is here who should be?
Yes, I can see Mr. Rankin is still here, and we have Alex McLaughlin as well. So yes, and Mr. Mahaffey as well.
Okay. So the committee has met and come to a decision. This is a summary decision of the licensing subcommittee. It's a temporary event notice for the front area of 258 Westbourne Park Road, London, West 11 1EL. The committee has considered objections from the police and environmental health to a temporary event notice, a 10, which has been given by Ms. Savannah Umaregi, the premises user, for the provision of regulated entertainment by means of the playing of recorded music and the performance of live music at the above premises on Saturday, the 27th of August, 2022, between the hours of 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock, Sunday, the 28th of August, between the hours of 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and on Monday, the 29th of August, between the hours of 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock. The committee has considered the committee papers, and the submissions made by the parties, both orally and in writing. In reaching its decision, the committee has regard to the relevant legislation, the Secretary of State's guidance, and the authority's statement of licensing. In summary, the committee decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of the case and the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 for the event. This notice means permission for the licensable activities requested in the temporary event notice has not been approved. The committee decided that allowing the temporary event notice would, in this instance, undermine the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives, and it determined to issue a counter notice under section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003. A copy of the reasoned decision will be provided without undue delay. If the premises user would like to appeal against this decision, such an appeal must be made to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of the notification of the full decision, but in any event no later than 5 working days before the start of the proposed temporary event. So it remains for me just to thank everyone who has attended today.